in your latest HBO special, Panic, you criticized the manosphere. Podcasts are full of this.
Yeah.
And one notable line was, if Hitler were alive today, he'd probably appear on Theo Vaughn's podcast. He'd probably have a podcast. Anyway, talk about what's happening here.
Well, look, I had to really deliberate or delegate, or what's the word I want. I had to think about that bit, because I know these guys. I've known them my whole life. I knew them before there was a manosphere.
Right.
I knew them as comics. I knew Rogan when he started in Boston. I've known these guys. We are somewhat of a weird tribe and a community. So, like, it gets to a point where, look, my politics are what they are. I'm team left. I'm not going to make all the games.
Right.
But I'm team left. Like going downtown to fight I'm like, not today, I think. But good luck with it, and I'll keep following you on the reels. So. But I've always been that way.
Yeah.
That's always been my politics, and I believe in liberal democracy. I believe in it. But like with the Theo Von thing, that's a joke, and it's a good joke.
Yeah.
To do Theo interviewing Hitler is hilarious.
Right.
And I eventually got to a place with that joke where I'm like, how could Theo get mad at me for this?
Right.
It's funny.
Right.
But they're sensitive, those
Did
fellas.
they get mad at you?
Well, Joe said he got mad at me. I don't know.
Yeah, you got
I think they get hurt,
They're very delicate flowers.
They are a little bit.
Yeah, made of paper mache.
They are.
Right.
I don't know why that is.
Billionaires are like that.
Huh?
I get so many calls like, you're so mean to me, and I go buy France. Go fuck yourself.
But like my issue was, and I think that many of them, look, I don't want to be diplomatic about this.
Please don't.
And I've talked about this a lot. I
you
talked about it
anti-woke
in the special, and I talked about it when I was promoting the special.
Right.
My problem with those guys, is that they were sucking up to fascists, and they were promoting the end of liberal democracy and the beginning of authoritarianism. And to me, that was plain and clear to see. So my issue with them was because of that. It was political, and it was like they were bootlickers and they were pawns. But I also think they were suckers, and I also think that some of them are grifters. Is that, some of these guys, it's like they're going to go to where the money is. And the audiences they built, even before I made these comments, like, would I ever go on Joe's show? Because he's sort of a star maker, or Tony's show. It's like, no, I wouldn't, because what am I going to do with that audience?
Right.
I've got my audience. They're delicate, angry, creative, middle-aged people, but they're my people,
Right.
So, and there's enough of them, and I think we need to speak up, and in that special, I was, I balanced that special. It was a delicate thing to sort of take the hits at lefties in a way that they could, handle it. And I did that. But really, and it does seem that the tide is turning, Dylan and Schultz and Rogan have become critical.
They're seeing what's happening.
Right, but you know what that means, though?
It's over,
is that,
and they need to get back.
Well, right. Maybe they don't know where it's dragging them, but I think really that a lot of these guys and people in general, they don't have a worldview. They're reacting. Like I don't think they think it through.
Right.
Like a couple guys got mad at me for the Riyadh joke. And these are jokes I'm doing. Everything on that special was a joke. And all the stuff that I was doing promoting the special, taking them to task a bit, was, it was done in the spirit of comedy, but these are jokes.
Right.
But they have some teeth to them, and they're not their teeth, right? I just got to the point where it's like, if lefties or comics that are progressive, it's difficult to talk about politics, and it's difficult to talk about left-leaning politics without seeming strident and annoying, and so and those two things are not great for funny.
Yeah.
So.
But you've been outspoken against the sort of so-called anti-woke angle in comedy as pure hack, and it is. It's become
hack.
Yeah.
It's
like a boob joke to me. It's like a boob joke to me.
A boob joke?
Boob jokes are funnier, but you know what I mean. It's like the easiest joke to do.
Look, a good dick joke is always great.
Listen, I'm with Scott Galloway all the fucking time, so I'm aware of the situation.
The thing that bothered me about that is like, they were, whether they knew it or not in the beginning of anti-wokeness, that was always like what the Republicans and the right have always wanted, for the last 3 or 4 decades was to dismantle, liberal democracy. Yeah. I mean, some of them are still pissed off about the New Deal. So,
and women's vote. That's
right. All of that stuff, and this has been brewing for so long that when comics get duped into this idea that because they can't say tranny or worse words, that somehow or another that the left is infringing upon their freedom of speech, it's so shallow and stupid. And because they fought for it, they just became part of the party line of dismantling liberal democracy. There was never it was never a freedom of speech issue. It was never a constitutional issue.
Never.
You could say whatever you want, and you're just going to have to, shoulder the burden of the consequences. Yeah. But ultimately, what happened, because they were used as cudgels to dismantle the entire infrastructure of DEI and everything else, right? So now, they don't have to shoulder anything, because now they can say those words with impunity, and the left have no traction to counter it, because we're living in 2 separate worlds. But I hold them responsible for being the front line of
being the dupe and the cudgel.
Yes,
the stupid hammer.
That's right.
Right.
I think that's true. And so for me, it was always a big picture thing.
Right.
And now, some of them, I don't know if they know that, but they know they that it's.
I think they're understanding they're suckers at this point. I think they're getting the penny is dropping.
I think so.
Yeah.
And it's just what do you it's weird. I've been working on this bit, on stage, just about how that there's going to be people now, MAGA people that are going to be like, oh man, I think I screwed up. And you're probably going to come in contact with them. And I think the instinct of a progressive or a left-leaning person is to be like, yeah, you fucking idiot.
Right.
You broke the world, you dumb shit.
Right.
What the fuck is wrong with you, stupid?
Do you think about
all
the
I know is when I
cashing
saw, podcasts on the menu of Netflix, I'm like, it's fucking over.
Yeah.
No one gives a shit about anything.
Yourself.
What, the bar has been lowered to such a degree that people will sit at home and watch people on Zoom with half their fucking face covered up by a Shure SM7? Yeah. It's like, what is wrong with fucking people? Do they not have any friends? Are they not curious about anything? Do they not use their brain anymore? They can't think. They got to have 3 idiots who are talking about the last time they shit themselves as adults, entertain them. I mean, it's like a fucking world of drive time radio.
Right.
It's the worst.
Right. So why do you think it's popular?
Huh?
Why do you think it's popular?
Because people are lazy and they'll adapt to anything, and they're fucking lonely, and they want to have parasocial relationships with people they feel that they're like, which means usually fucking amateurs.
Right.
Well, I guess that apology to Joe Rogan has been retracted by Marc Maron. So Marc Maron went on Kara Swisher's podcast at some Tribeca thing and decided to just go off on Rogan, Theo, Tony, Andrew, Bill Burr. He didn't say Bill Burr by name, but when he brought up someone got mad that I did this Saudi bit, he was talking about Bill Burr. So it continues, but Marc Maron seems to think that Rogan and the entire Rogansphere are just grifters. Guys who are now changing their mind on Trump because it's not popular to roll with Trump anymore. Now, I could see that. I could see how that is. Or you could see it the other way. Maybe they just supported Trump and now they just don't agree with what he's doing. You have to remember, whether you like Trump or you don't like Trump, he was up against somebody. And I think Marc and all of his friends there who, are all lefties, as Marc said, has to understand something. There's a lot of people in this country who are not left-wing, but you drove them to someone like Trump because of your policies. I mean, you could think Trump is bad and stuff, but when an entire political party's position is anybody from any country can come here and steal jobs from all our people, well, then other people are going to vote for Trump. And, they got into the whole thing about, anti-woke and stuff and how anti-woke is hack. Well, it may be, but let's not pretend that the woke thing didn't exist. Let's not pretend that the woke people didn't ruin everything and complain and try to get people fired and all that stuff. So, of course, there was a reaction to that within itself. And those guys might have gravitated towards it and everything. But I don't care either way. It's just people seem to forget, everyone who supported Trump, don't forget Trump was up against people who, I don't know, if you go watch the people who are anti-Trump and always have been, like the progressive left types, they really do just seem to hate this country and want to destroy it. I mean, legitimately. When I hear people say capitalism is evil, I mean, these people will, if you look at like the California thing, like I'm sure Marc Maron probably hates like Spencer Pratt or something, and will be like Karen Bass or Nithya Raman. Now, Karen Bass and Nithya Raman and the Democratic Party has been in charge of that state for 30 years and have destroyed it with their policies, but they just can't see it. But they'll blame the Republicans for it somehow. But no one will just come along, in my opinion, and just be like, yeah, I'm fully lefty, and we don't need unfettered illegal immigrants and other stuff like that, if that's their position. Only because, it's kind of weird to be for, we're for unions and raising the minimum wage and for bringing in people to take those people's jobs to work for less. The whole thing makes no sense to me personally, but as regards to Marc Maron going off on those guys, I'm all for it because it's hilarious. But let me know your thoughts in the comments.